So do some research, look at the needed documents. It's good to gather everything. And it's also recommended to apply for an appointment at the Hungarian embassy or consulate as soon as possible, as early as possible. If you need a visa in Hungary but you do not have the residence permit yet and you leave the country, you will not be able to come back. And that's a really big problem.
ELTE Walk. Everything you need to know about ELTE. Welcome to the ELTE Walk podcast, a program of the ELTE International Strategy Office, which has been created to present everything you need to know about Eötvös Loránd University as a prospective or current international student. I'm Tamás Jamriskó, editor-in-chief of the first university radio of Pest, which produces this program in cooperation with the International Strategy Office of ELTE. My co-host is Raissa Negrao, a student in the doctoral program in psychology at ELTE and international student ambassador. In our fourth episode, our guest is Kata Számel, with whom we will talk about visas and residence permits in Hungary. Hello, Kata.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
So, what is your job exactly?
I'm working at ELTE, obviously, in the Erasmus Plus and International Programs Office as an international coordinator.
So, first of all, the most important question, who is required to obtain a visa?
Basically, everyone who is coming outside of the EU is required to obtain a visa, but there are some exceptions that are called visa waiver countries. There is a website where you can check this list of visa waiver countries. We could put that link in the description. And if the country is on that list, then the students can travel only with their passport. They don't need visa.
Mm-hmm. I said, did you have to get a visa when you wanted to come here?
Well, I got already the student residence permit, but I could have come only with my passport because my country is in the list that I don't need a visa for to enter Europe or European Union.
Yeah, so, that sounds good.
Yeah. Which comes to our next question regarding the residence permit. And specifically, who needs to obtain a residence permit for the purpose of study? Could you describe how a person could apply to the residence permit?
Yes, the same is the case like with the visa. So if someone is required to have a visa, they are mostly required to have a residence permit for the purpose of study as well, if they wish to stay and study in Hungary. But for example, if someone already has a residence permit for the purpose of work, for employment, then it's not needed to have one for studying. So there are some cases when other kinds are also acceptable. But mostly if an international student comes from outside the EU, they need a residence permit for the purpose of study. And the application process is starting alongside with the D-visa application. So when a student is going to the embassy or for example, to the consulate to apply for a visa, their residence permit application is started automatically with that. And when they arrive to Hungary, they just need to submit some additional documents, and they can have the residence permit card in 2 to 3 weeks.
That's great.
That's pretty nice. So, for example, if I'm a prospective international student from the Middle East, I just check the web pages, and of course we will attach any and many necessary information about how to get a visa, how can you get information from the ELTE, and we will attach these informations to our podcast's show notes. So, for example, if somebody wants to come here from the Middle East, should they just check the documents and apply for this D visa, right?
Yes, I would recommend to do some research, especially on the website of the Hungarian National Directorate for Aliens Policing. That's the immigration office who are dealing with all these issues. So do some research, look at the needed documents. It's good to gather everything. And it's also recommended to apply for an appointment at the Hungarian embassy or consulate as soon as possible, as early as possible, maybe even before getting the letter of acceptance, because the waiting times could be very long.
How much, you mean? How
mostly,
long?
In the past, it was mostly for 1 month to get through the whole visa process, but now the number of the international students are increasing very quickly, so the waiting time can be sometimes more than 2 months. And this is an issue that the students have to prepare for, because they have to arrive for the start of the semester or October latest.
So you have to just check the documents, check the informations just in time.
Yes. And
that's a very important thing.
Yes. And after you have the information and you have the appointment, you should get the appointment and collect all the documents, and then go to the embassy or consulate. And there is a small interview that the students have to go through, answer some questions, submit all the documents. And after all this, their case is being processed and they just have to wait for the visa.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned an acceptance paper, right? How can I get that? For example, I just wrote to the university, hey, I want to go study there, and give me an acceptance paper, or how does it look like?
There is a website and the application process is quite long. There are also many documents that have to be submitted, like previous studies and medical records and a lot of other things. And after this application process, there is an interview also, like an exam, an application exam. So there are some steps that the students have to pass, and in the end of this long process, they get the acceptance letter or they do not get it.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to ask one question, because you mentioned that a student can study at ELTE with a residence permit for work or study. So if someone has a residence permit for work, can they apply to study at ELTE with that residence permit only?
Yes, with the work permit one can study, and also if one has a residence permit for the purpose of study, it is possible to work, but not in a full-time job. But the rule now is that everyone can work up to 30 hours a week. I think that's pretty good. In the term time when there are lessons, and outside of the third time they can work 66 working days in a year.
Mm-hmm. That sounds reasonable, by the way. If you want to study here and work a bit, that's absolutely okay. Earn some money, cover your expenses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just to be clear again, because I never ever applied for a visa to anywhere. So if I'm a foreign student, I have to apply for a resident permit, and after that I will get the D visa, right?
No, it's the opposite. So first, the visa is a document that allows to travel into a country.
Yep.
So you need the visa first. You are applying for the visa, but because it's a D visa that is called for the purpose of study, like a study visa, it is automatically starting the process of applying for a residence permit for the purpose of study. So you submit the same documents at the same time at the embassy. You get the visa, you can travel into Hungary, and when you arrive, you have to visit the immigration office and submit some additional documents, and you will get your residence permit card.
Yeah, it's much more clear.
I'd also like to add that the D visa is valid for 1 year, but this not means that you can stay with it for 1 year in Hungary. It means that you have 1 year to travel into Hungary one time. So it's only valid for one time traveling, but you can do that one time traveling anywhere in that 1 year while it's valid. And after you arrive, it is valid for 30 days. So you have 30 days to get your residence permit to stay legally in Hungary after you arrive.
That's also clear. And what if somebody wants to visit their family for Christmas or Easter or any kind of national celebration days? Is it allowed to do that with this visa?
Of course, if you have the residence permit, it's not with the visa anymore. If you have the residence permit, you are allowed to move freely outside or inside Hungary until you have the valid card.
Mm-hmm. That sounds also good.
It can be a little bit difficult to understand this transfer from the visa to the residence permit.
I think it's very, very crucial to understand these frames to staying and studying here and get the information properly.
Yes, they are two different documents, but they are very much connected. So it's important to see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and know the deadlines as well. So after 30 days of the D visa, you have to switch the application to the residence permit one.
Yes, but I'd like to add that sometimes, because of the immigration office, it's not always on time. So it happens that the student cannot get the residence permit after 30 days. And a lot of students are panicking, but I always tell them that they should not panic because it's not their fault. So if they submitted everything and they are just waiting for the processing, it's not their fault, and nothing bad will happen. So just be patient and wait.
Yeah, and keep calm, of course.
Yes.
Raissa, do you have a resident permit?
Yes, and the patience is the word, actually.
Because how hard, as you can remember that, how hard was it to get it?
It was very well. As you mentioned, now I think the income of international students are way more. But when I arrived 5 years ago, it was quite quick. So I went my first week and I got the residence permit in less than I got the residence permit in less than a month. But when I went to renew it, I had to wait longer. And the process of renewing, it can be a little bit stressful because the immigration office, there's always a lot of people, so you need to go very early, and the waiting time can be many hours. Yes. So, yeah.
You have to take your time too.
Well, it's a little step. So it's not a problem.
But it's good that you're mentioning this, because it's important that everyone has to apply for an extension of the residence permit before it is expiring 3 months before that. And this is also for ensuring that you have it on time. Sometimes, of course, this is still not enough, but it's important to apply for it on time, especially because, for example, in the case of scholarship holders, this is also the document that enables them to apply for the Social Security card. And if they do not have it, then they are not covered by the governmental health insurance.
That's a very important information. For instance, what should I do when I already submitted my residence permit application, but I did not include all the documents required?
In this case, you will get a message about these required documents that you should upload them as soon as possible. But as I said in the beginning, it is best to gather all the documents as soon as possible, because every day can count when you are waiting for a visa. But with some documents, there is a little time possibility to submit it later, after you already submitted your application.
Usually when you are traveling abroad, you have to care about your health care. What are the things, laws, and what should I do if I want to, or should I purchase a health insurance in Hungary? So what are the laws about that?
Yes, most definitely you should. Especially if you are
Is it a must or a should thing?
It's a must if you're applying for a visa, because in order to get the visa and the residence permit, you have to be covered by some kind of health insurance. If the student who is applying is a self-funded student, they have to pay for it themselves before applying for the visa, and they have to submit the proof that they are covered by health insurance. In the case of scholarship students, for example, the Stipendium Hungaricum scholarship holders, they are covered by the Social Security system. But of course, when they are applying, they do not have the social security card yet. So we actually have a solution for this. When you get the letter of acceptance as a scholarship holder, there is a paragraph about health insurance that says that you are eligible for applying for the Thai card and having the social security card. So this paragraph is acceptable like proof of health insurance, and the embassy and the immigration office will accept it, and they will get the visa. And after a student is in Hungary and they got the residence permit card, they can apply in reality for this Thai card, this social security card, and after that they are covered by the social security system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they don't need to hire for a few days a private insurance at all.
If you are a scholarship holder, then you don't have to.
Oh, okay, very interesting. Because at my time it was necessary, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I think that as I knew the application forms and this whole pipeline from the idea to studying here is much more easier. It gets much more easier.
We hope so. We are working on it to make it easier, but there are still a lot of steps to take.
So, you know that when students come here, they want to travel because the countries are so near each other in Europe. And the next question would be, can international students travel in Europe without a residence permit?
Not without a residence permit, only if they are traveling in a country when they do not need a visa, and if they do not need visa in Hungary. This is the only case when you can move only with your passport, because if you need a visa in Hungary but you do not have the residence permit yet and you leave the country, you will not be able to come back. And that's a really big problem. And also, of course, if you need a visa to enter another country where you want to travel, you will not be allowed only with your passport. So I recommend to everyone to wait patiently until you get the residence permit card, and after that you can travel anywhere inside the EU and stay there up to 90 days legally. So it's really worth waiting for the card.
Yeah, it's still very clear. And what about that situation if somebody is studying here and he or she would like to work somewhere in this country? Is it allowed?
Yes, it's allowed. As I said earlier, with the residence permit for the purpose of study, you can work for up to 30 hours a week.
Maximum 30 hours
Maximum
a week.
30 hours, yes. And outside the term time for 66 working days a year. So you can also work during the summer break when you don't have classes.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any information about that? If somebody is, okay, get the permit, get the visa and stuff like that, studied here, but he or she finished his or her studies, and he or she would like to work here in a full-time job. Is it allowed, or what he or she have to do for it?
Yes, if one finished their studies, they do not have a student status anymore, so they couldn't even have a residence permit for the purpose of study. But if someone has a job, they can apply for a residence permit for the purpose of employment, purpose of work. And there are some different documents needed than for students, of course. There is also the possibility of having a residence permit for other purposes. This is also a category. For example, earlier there was a form of student scholarship who were not in student status anymore, but they were finishing their dissertations, and this was a good form for them to stay in Hungary, and it is also possible. And there is also a good opportunity if someone finished their studies. There is a form of residence permit for the purpose of job searching or entrepreneurship. And this is valid for 1 year, I think. So after you finished, you got your degree and you want to search for job opportunities, this is a possibility to stay for a little longer and find a job.
So we have the opportunities to staying here or studying more and work if we fell in love in this country.
And okay, now to not very happy topic. What should I do if I lost my residence permit or if it was stolen, for example?
That's very unfortunate. In this case, it must be reported to the police, and the student can also apply for a request. And the student should also submit a request for document replacement, so they don't have to go through the whole application process again. Actually, it is now beginning of November, and I already met a student who is in their first year, and she already lost her residence permit.
And then what happened in that situation if a police just asks somebody, just show me your residence permit?
When you go and report it and ask for the replacement, until you do not get the replacement, I guess that they are giving temporary residence.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about that.
Paper,
catch me and take us into the prison. Yeah, that's pretty.
I heard that even the police report, like when you report to the police is stolen, the police gives a declaration.
Yes.
And you can use that.
If you have your passport and any document that proves that you had it and you lost it, you're good.
Yeah, that's also very good.
And it takes up to 1 month or more to get replaced, or more or less?
Sometimes, yeah. I think it really depends on the situation and on the time of year, so I can't really say exactly.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about it. If we lost it, the authority is going to solve the rest.
Yes, but it's most if you don't lose your residence.
Of course.
Yeah, take care of yourself and for your documents. So, got to just summarize at the end of our podcast. What are the main steps and what are those points we especially have to care about them?
I think the most important thing is always to do good research before you are doing anything, before you are going to the embassy, before you are going to the immigration office. Look at the websites and prepare for it well, prepare all the documents, because it's not good to waste time going somewhere without proper research and getting turned down. So the most important steps are applying for the D visa, traveling to Hungary, getting the residence permit, and after there are also some additional things that it's good to apply for, like a student ID and a Thai card if you are entitled to get it. So, yeah.
And you are going to be free to travel, work, and of course study here.
Yes.
One more question to the visa. What should somebody do if he or she don't need a visa here? Somebody came from France, maybe the UK, Portugal, or they are coming from inside the EU.
They also need the residence permit for the purpose of study, but they do not apply for a visa, so their application process is not started yet if they travel into the country without a visa. So for them, I recommend to apply for the residence permit online. There is a website for this. It's called Enter Hungary. Through this website, you can apply for the residence permit if you are coming from a visa waiver country, or if you want to extend your residence permit. And after the application, after the uploading of all the document, you have 15 days to visit the immigration office personally. This is a very important information because some people try to apply for the residence permit when they are not in Hungary yet. But this is not possible because you have 15 days to be there in the office personally. So if you will not visit the office, they will delete your application and the whole case. So this is really only for people who are already in Hungary and who are coming without a visa or want to extend the residence permit.
That's clear too. Thank you. Thank you for your attention, and thank you to Kata Számel for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
In our next episode, we will talk about housing, finding accommodation, and dormitories.
ELTE Walk. Everything you need to know about ELTE.